Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast, the AA Big Book Solution.
Hey, guys.
I'm Natalie. I'm with Michaelis. I'm in Thailand. He's in Bali. We're in Asia, but we're both Americans. And here we are.
Hello.
So this is episode number 3 today. And just a quick background for everybody that hopefully we'll have some new people joining us. But my name's Natalie. I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so is Michaelis. You want to say something?
Hi, my name is Michaelis, and I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. That was good, awesome. Right?
Good enough, sure. Oh, yeah, you can probably hear the birds.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So the purpose of our podcast is to share about this big book solution process. There is no official name for it. I've asked Michaelis, who has been the person taking me through this process, where did this big book study come from? He talked about that in the last podcast, that it comes from the first 100. But, there's no official name. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we just came up with a name for this on the fly, and whatever, it works. That's the most important thing. So we're here to share about our experience before we found this big book study, and then after. Kind of like the same thing with AA, when you share your experience, strength, and hope, but the turning point being that the big book study finding us. So you have anything to add?
Yeah, and just the reason why this thing is called Real Recovery, besides alliteration, which is fantastic, is that it's based on the original message of AA, where the integrity of the AA message is held, which is in the big book, So there's just a big difference between what's talked about in the fellowship that's posed as the program of Alcoholics Anonymous versus what's actually in the book. And so we focus on that basically.
I love that distinction. And it wasn't until I was in this process with you that I didn't know there was a difference. I just thought the meetings are the program. And I didn't know any difference. So you don't know what you don't know.
Nobody knows. That's the problem. Yeah, no, totally. It's funny.
I think more and more people are learning.
Yeah, totally. And that's kind of what I've made my job for the last 11 years is to try to pass that on, because understanding it and actually working it has benefited my life so much. But today's not about me. Today is about Miss Natalie. She's going to share her experience, strength, and hope with you lovely people. And let's have her take it away.
All right. So this is interesting for me because I've been sober since 1999, just like Michaelis. Did you get sober in 99 or 2000?
Sure did.
Oh, 99.
99. Just made it.
Yeah, I know, right? But I've had my same story for so long, and it's a good story, like my good old experience, strength, and hope. But now my story's changed so much. I'm I don't know how to, I'm still navigating what is this new story. So, and actually saying that to say my new sobriety date, I changed my sobriety date, which you can, we'll post our individual information if you want to learn more about us and what we're doing in the world. And you can find my story on my website, on my blog, Facebook, all that stuff. But just yesterday, I celebrated 1 year of changing my sobriety date. So, yeah. I was in a big book study with Michaelis on page 31. I was sitting right here and I forgot who read it. I think I read it, but it said, through every form of self-deception and experimentation, they will try to prove themselves exceptions to the rule, therefore non-alcoholic. And he asked me, were you in denial about what you were doing?
And I was waiting for this moment too.
Really? That exact sentence?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because you had shared with me that stuff about, the experimentation. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'm not going to pressure her. I'm not going to like ask her anything, but I'm going to wait for the book to do it for her. I knew that line was going to come up eventually. And I was like, by the time she's done with More About Alcoholism, she's going to change, and boom, I was like, yes, I didn't have to do anything. It was great. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but it was just like,
I mean, that's totally fine. But yeah, so the experimentation that I did was doing like psychedelic plant medicine. This one time I took like this alcohol herbal tincture and I took too much knowingly, but not thinking it would really give me a buzz. And it gave me this huge buzz and I freaked out and I didn't have a sponsor at the time. And I just asked a program friend, like, oh my God, I drank this thing and I don't know what to do. And he's like, it's okay. You weren't trying to get drunk, but I just always felt like it was a mar on my sobriety. So I just kind of carried that with me. And then anyway, through this whole big book study process and being restored to sanity, basically, leading up to that day, a year ago yesterday. So, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself though, because that's kind of later on in the process. But, I got sober in 1999. I was 22 years old and it was my second time in AA. I got sober the first time at 17, got sent to a crazy Christian brainwashing, militant drug rehab, 12-step based. It was 12-step based. But the 12 steps said, turn your will and your life over to the care of Jesus Christ. So we had the steps on the wall and they had a Bible verse with each step. But I could talk a whole hour about that.
But seriously though, like getting sober at 17, what's that even like? I mean, you don't even feel like you've started with life,
I had so many consequences. Oh my God.
Already.
I had so many. Wow. Yeah, I was a fucking mess. I was a teenage drug addict. Which I wrote about that. Oh yeah. And one of my things I recently wrote, I talked about giving LSD to my sister she was 13, I was 16, and huffing butane and huffing with her. I mean, doing just crazy ass shit. So I felt like I deserved, I felt like I deserved to be there, so I didn't have a problem with that. But yeah, but I got out of there. I knew I was an addict and an alcoholic. But I relapsed. I mean, I don't want to go into all of that stuff, but I relapsed for like 3.5 years, hit a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad bottom. And came back in 1999, fully ready to surrender and be willing. And I did. I jumped into AA. I got a sponsor right away. I started working the steps right away. Did my first set of steps. I remember doing my 5th step with maybe 4 months sober. So I jumped in and I had this terrible secret I was going to take to the grave. And it was like such a breakthrough to even write it on my paper for the 4th step. And I was like, okay, I'll write it down, but I'm not saying it. But then in the 5th step, I said it. So I had that like level of willingness. I did the process to the best of my ability, that whole process. But I just remember early on, that suggestion, don't date in your first year if you're single. Ooh, are you still there?
I'm here. Sorry, I got a FaceTime call.
Oops, no problem.
I'm with you.
So that suggestion, I was single. So it's like, okay, don't date. I was like, fuck no, you're not taking away all my fun. I'm clean and sober. I'm 22. I'm going to do whatever I want in other areas of my life. So I wasn't fully surrendered to, be open to doing that. So I remember I went to my first SLAA meeting in the year 2000. So already it just immediately went into total unmanageability. And it was more like the obsession being consumed with guys and crushes, and I just switched, from one addiction to another. But I did the best I could. And I mean, my life up leveled significantly. I mean, totally. I can't deny that. I did have a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps to the best of my ability at that time. I was willing to be a sponsor, but as you know, people in the AA program, like the paradigm there is you have to wait to be asked to be a sponsor, that there's no, we just have to like sit there and wait. That whole bastardized concept of attraction rather than promotion that just gets under my skin every time I hear it, because it's totally out of context. Because
I have to look really pretty and hope that people just come to me. I'm pretty. Hello. Totally.
Well, and I was 22, and I mean, sure, people could still ask me, but I think, you know, if I would have been older, that probably would have helped. It's like, what 40-year-old's going to ask a 22-year-old to be their sponsor? I mean, somebody could, but you know what I mean. So I was willing, but I did have a 40-year-old ask me, this woman, and I was probably 24, and she was, you know, this older woman. But I just hated being a sponsor. I was just like, it's too much pressure. I just felt like, like so uncomfortable. And it was just scary and pressure and expectation. And I just felt really awkward. And I felt like I was bad at it. And I felt like I'm trying to give advice and I don't know what the fuck to say. And am I going to say the wrong thing? And I just didn't like it too. I was just selfish. I really didn't want to take my time out of my life and go meet with somebody and read the big book or whatever. I just didn't want to do it. It just was boring and I had other priorities. So the handful of times I did get people asking me, I kind of had this energy of like, you're inconveniencing me. I didn't like be like, oh yeah, call me anytime and really mean it. So if they did call, I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, well, what is it? Or it was kind of a subtle energetic thing, but yeah, so that's how I was like. And, you know, I was really immersed in AA and the meetings and stuff for the first number of years. Then I got married, moved away from where I got sober and moved into the country, a 30-minute drive, like on backcountry roads to get to the nearest meeting. And so that was a big barrier for me going. I married a man in AA. We both, you know, he's a wonderful, awesome person. So it wasn't anything with that, but we just moved to the country and we were isolated. And then I just, you know, my meetings fell off and I was just getting miserable and just in untreated addiction, untreated alcoholism. I turned to food. So, you know, my pattern was I'm like obsessed about sex and relationships until I fall in love with somebody. And then we have that amazing period of just the high of being in that lust and infatuation and falling in love or whatever, falling in lust.
6 months.
6 months.
Maybe 9 months.
Oh, how long that lasts.
That period. Yeah.
And then it goes away. And then you're left with, okay, who is this human being here in front of me that I've been projecting all of this fantasy on? And then the sex goes away. And well, it did for me. And then I would start eating. And then I would just switch. And I would become like a sexual anorexic within the relationship. And I would just be using food to fill that void. And then I would gain weight. And then I would cheat or whatever, something would happen. I would sabotage it or something. There'd be different things that happen. But then I would be single again. Then I would lose all the weight. I would just do that over and over and over. So that was my pattern. And I was doing this in sobriety. And I just, you know, I did the best I could. But I just floundered. And it was just like, okay, I guess this is my life. Just this like managing and mediocre happiness up and down, find the next, you know, self-help book or therapist or, you know, thing. And, oh, I'm going to like, absorb all this information. And, and I feel good for a bit. And then I'd fall again. So, after maybe, how long was I sober? 13, 14 years, 15 years, something like that. I ended up having an affair on my husband and moving 10,000 miles across the world to an Asian country, to South Korea, to be with the next person that I went to. And yeah, it just, I include that to show the insanity of, I mean, if you look at the progression of the disease, I mean, that's some progression to like go to those lengths. And plus my insanity leading up to that. I mean, I used to think like, this is probably how it would feel to be like a crackhead, like, but I was sober. I mean, I just was in this alternate reality of hiding and managing and living a separate secret life. But I'm like sober in AA doing this. I'm just so lucky I didn't pick up, so it was really intense. And anyway, I don't want to go into a bunch of details. So that's how I ended up in Asia, basically. But then just more floundering. I remember at one point, and I would go into another 12-step fellowship. I would dabble in the steps, but I would never do a whole set of steps. I would get up to the 4th step. I might even almost finish the 4th step. I might even finish the 4th step, or I might do a little bit of a 5th step, but I would never do like a whole set of steps in SLA or whatever, Al-Anon, Coda, blah, 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 all those fellowships. But I did the AA steps in 2013 was the last time before now that I've done a full set. And I did a full set of steps to the best of my ability. And I had some relief, but again, that part with like helping others was just absent. It was just absent. And as we know, if you listen to Michaelis's episode last time, he broke down the symbol and the body, mind, spirit and all that stuff. But just that being in service is the thing that heals our spirit. And we need to work on all 3 parts of the disease if we want full recovery. And I just didn't do that. So I got mediocre results because I didn't have full knowledge of the program as it's outlined in the book. So more and more just going down and down. And almost 2 years ago now, I was living in Bali again and at a fellowship meeting and met this man. And one day he was like, "Do you want to do a big book study?" And I was like, no. I mean, my energy was like, hell no, just no.
Can we take a moment to describe Marcy though, a little bit? Like,
go ahead, you know him better than me.
This man is wild. He's a wild man. He's got crazy hair. He looks disheveled. He's super dark and little and angry. He's amazing. Like he was actually like high on life. And he's one of those dudes that gets really enthusiastic about stuff. So I can only imagine like how he approached you, like, want a new book, like an insane person. But anyway, keep going.
Plug for Marcy there. Yeah, so at this point, like Michaelis lives in Bali, but we'd never met. So Michaelis helped Marcy through the book, right? And then that's how Marcy came to meet Marcy. And so I did. And so he's like, "Do you want to do this big book study?" I'm like, "No, not at all." And he's like, "No." I always felt like he was grabbing me by my collar energetically, like, "No, you don't understand.
Totally.
This big book study will change your life." Like that's how I remember. And he wasn't like that, but his energy was very enthusiastic. So I was just like, okay, this dude's really excited about this big book study, which interested me. And I mean, I wouldn't be here had he not been so enthusiastic, because I would have just said no. If he would have just been anyone else, "Oh, you don't want to do it? Okay, cool. I understand. I respect that." I would not be sitting here right now doing this. So his enthusiasm sold me. And I was just like, okay, I guess if you think it's so awesome, I don't know what could be so awesome. I know this shit, I've been in it forever, my whole life. And he showed me that symbol and it blew my mind. I mean, it was just like spiritual experience having him explain the symbol, which if you missed Michaelis explaining it, and just very briefly, we have a 3-part disease, body, mind, and spirit. AA treats all 3 parts. We bring our body to meetings, that treats the body. We are in the 12-step process in the book that treats our mind when we go through that process ourselves. And then we treat our spirit in intensive work with other alcoholics. That doesn't mean chairing a meeting and making coffee and having a service position. It means taking other people one-on-one through the big book study and step process. And so it just immediately, I'm like, this has been my problem for 20 freaking years. Of course I knew it was important to sponsor people and to be of service, but I just had it, I had it that they have to ask you. Nobody's asking me, what can I do about that? I mean, I didn't have willingness. I could have been like, I'm willing to sponsor. I mean, I would always raise my hand, but I just thought, well, there's only so much you can do. And plus nobody wanted what I had. I was a mess. I was in other addictions. I didn't have what anybody wanted anyway. So nobody would ask anyway, but just to learn that it's like, we follow the example of the early members, Bill and Bob going to Akron City Hospital almost frantically, working hard. Like that's how we get to be, and that heals our spirit. So there's a lot more to the mechanics of that. But when Marcy showed me that symbol, I was just like, this explains 25 years of why I've been miserable in this program. So it was a big moment. And then, for whatever reason, I don't know, because he lived in a different part of Bali and there was just whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But then he sent me, so Michaelis had started making these YouTube videos of doing the big book study. And so he's like, hey, check these videos out. And I started to, and I was like, cool. And then I was taking a woman, we were watching the videos together, like doing it together in real time, even though I was her like sponsor because she was a newcomer. But yeah, eventually, long story short, moved to Thailand, the videos stopped, and I'm like, saw that they were ending, and I'm like, I've got these people. I'd asked a bunch of people to do the big book study, and like, they're coming up behind me, I got to keep going. So reached out. I mean, I just found Michaelis on the internet and just was like, hey, I don't know you, but or you don't know me, but I know your videos and know Marcy. And so we started working together over a year ago now. And in the next week, I mean, maybe even today, I will be finished with the big book study. So, which is a milestone. But my life is just so different now. I mean, I have a purpose. It's completely transformed everything about me in my life. You can hear the call to prayer. And it's really about, like Michaelis says, the intensive work with others is the thing that heals us. It heals our selfishness and self-centeredness. It helps us get into the present moment. I've had a lot of stuff happen in the past year, just like everybody that's on the planet right now. But I guarantee 95% of the time, if I've been having a lot of shit happening in my own life, if I'm on a call with somebody, it's like 95% gone. I'm not thinking about it in that moment. I'm focused on being in the space of giving the message, of paying attention to them, of just being in the moment with whatever we're experiencing in the book study and just helping them. And it works every time. So, just having my own transformation as a result. And then too, like this, so I've been through the steps again and I'm almost finished. It's blown my mind. Like I like to say my stats of like, I had 263 resentments on my resentment list. and I had 45 fears, and the sex conduct number, I don't know, maybe I'll keep that one to myself, but it was definitely in the double digits. But just like the thoroughness and just the willingness I had and I'm in this immense process where I'm just going back through my entire life. And I mean, I did that early on, but this is more just, it's just so thorough and deep. And I just want to clean up everything. I don't know why. It's just like God doing for me. I just show up. I have passion for this. I'm helping as many people as I can. The universe removed my 9-to-5 job a couple of months ago to give me more time to be in service. And now I'm a transformational life coach as a result of just doing this work, basically. I'm back in creativity. Like I've always been a writer, but I just would dabble in it. And now I just live in inspiration. I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to say. There's so many awesome things I can talk about that can be helpful to people. And people are saying, wow, thank you for this, you know, whatever. And it's not about that. I mean, sure, I have an ego like everyone else, but it's just different. So, yeah, I mean, I teach meditation. I'm doing things consistently. Like that's like 5 years ago or so, I got really into Joe Dispenza meditation. And I started writing again. I started teaching meditation, but you know, it dropped off. And now I just have this like deep well of energy and it's just higher power, God, universe, source, Jesus, Buddha, whatever, like working through me. And then just, you know, even this podcast, I thought, you know, wouldn't it be awesome to share this method with people, and it's just so mind-blowing and amazing. And so as we move forward, we're going to have some guests on who we have taken or are in the book process with, who are having their own miracles and transformation as a result. So it's just really cool what God's doing with all this, and I'm just so grateful. So I guess that's it.
Yay, that was so good. I like the back roads to AA meetings. That's really cool. Right on. Yeah, it's been such a blessing to be able to work with you. You've been like definitely one of the most willing people that I've worked with in the last 11 years, who's really just like jumped into the service part and did it like I did it. And you can really see the results, which is really what's so cool. And just, you know, reaffirms to me how magical this process really is. So it's really cool.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate
no worries.
that.
Definitely.
So I guess that's all for our episode for today. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have our first like victim, our first guest, whoever that will be.
Do we give them a hard time? Is that cool?
I mean, if they work with one of us, they know us well enough by now, hopefully, that, you know, they can handle whatever we dish out at them, right?
All right, cool. So we can totally heckle. I'm excited about that.
Well, of course. Is there anything you wanted to heckle with me that you like held your tongue about?
No, I think I said everything I needed to say. You're all good. You're good.
Awesome. So, you know, just to kind of plug ourselves for a minute, you already heard about me, but we have yet to like get our shit together, like on paper or on the internet. So we don't know how that's going to look, but by the time you see this, you will see something where you can click something and see something about us. Right?
Something somewhere. Yes. Yes. Yeah, totally.
So do you want to say what you're up to or what you're doing in your life?
What am I up to? Man, I just go to the gym. And yeah, I mean, I'm in the process of editing my first book. Woo-hoo. Which is basically kind of like I think I talked about this last time, but it's just, you know, a big book process for people who are not addicts and not alcoholics. So people who are just dealing with the human condition, aka the spiritual malady, and a process to sort of work through that, and also to practice being of service as well. So that's what I'm doing. You know, it's pretty exciting. I
Yeah.
can't wait for it to be finished. I'm actually really excited. I've never been more excited about anything in my life. So
Wow, that says a lot
yeah,
because
there's
you've had a pretty
yeah,
pretty amazing life.
yeah, totally. But I feel like this is like my purpose. This is my legacy on this earth. This is how I'm really going to be able to reach more people than I've ever been able to reach in my life. So it's cool.
It's really exciting. I love that and love that for you. And you deserve it. It's like, maybe I said this last time, but 10 years to become an overnight success, right?
Right.
Because I can't imagine you've been living this like dedication to service for a long time. I've only been in it, intensely like over a year now. Like, can't even imagine doing it for a decade. So that's awesome.
But that's just like how awesome it is, because if it wasn't something that was so invigorating, and then I would have lost the passion for it a long time ago, but I still get excited about it. And that's what's so crazy about this whole thing. It's just, it really is elevated my life even beyond what I ever thought was possible. And it continues to do so, which, is amazing. So I'm excited to watch you on your journey. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, thanks. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we're already up to cool things with this. And yeah, I mean, it's been mind blowing. It really, I mean, in the post I wrote yesterday about my 1 year rebirth day, as I called it, I was just like, oh my God, like if this dude Marcy hadn't have been Marcy and so enthusiastic, like, and I would have said no. I mean, it really scares me. I'm like, oh my God, where would I be if I didn't have, I mean, I feel like I could cry, like, oh my God, where would I be with COVID, with my job, like totally ending after 12 and a half years. Whew, don't want to think about it. So thank God I don't have to.
Totally. Absolutely. I'm going to plug Marcy one more time. If you're ever in Bali and you want to learn how to surf, Marcy is an epic surf coach. He's absolutely amazing. And he's a fantastic little man. So
Is he short? I don't think
he's short enough.
I don't think of him as little. To me, I remember him as being kind of tall.
That's really funny. I don't know why I think of him. I just want to pick him up and scoop him, but I don't know. He's just very cute. He's cute to me. So
we'll have to.
Marcy hated me.
Oh, really?
Actually, he hated me. He thought I was the fucking worst person ever. He hated me because I was Jewish.
Oh.
He hated me because I smoked. He hated me because I was a DJ, and he hated me because I was happy. And he hated me because I was from LA. So it was like literally 5 big things against me. And I remember how he even asked me to work with him was, I mean, he had heard about me taking people through the book, and he hated that. And I was outside of a meeting, and I saw one of his sponsees, who I guess he had been trying to browbeat into coming to the meeting. And the sponsee was like, no, I'm not going to go to the meeting. And I was just like, hey, what's up, Ferdi? And the guy was like, hey, what's up, Michaelis? I'm like, hey, why don't you come to the meeting, man? It'll be fun. Like super nonchalant. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And he came in, and Marcy was like, what the fuck, And he approached me afterwards. He's like, I don't know, like, I never would have thought of approaching Ferdi like that. And I keep trying to browbeat him into getting him go to these meetings. He doesn't fucking go to the meetings, but you just come in and like say this fucking line. And he just comes right in. He's like, maybe I have to try to be nicer or try to be happier. Do you want to take me through the book? And that's kind of how it happened. I was like, okay. So it was really funny. He argued the whole way through, and it was fantastic. Yeah, he was the best. One of my favorites, actually, because I really like it when people question everything and want to argue stuff, and it's great. So yeah, it was good.
Plug for Marcy. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
We should have Marcy on the show. Be awesome.
Sure. But I mean, we can have whoever we want on the show.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, everybody. Until next time. See you guys later.
Thanks for showing up.
Bye.
Bye.